Jim is a dentist. You're thinking of Jim.
No, the
Jim.
girl.
The girls,
Well,
yeah, I'm not sure about
Well,
that.
that doesn't matter.
No,
They're homeless
I
down
know
there.
Kurt's not gonna be
Yeah.
transferred.
I'm ready when you are.
Okay.
Just don't forget to introduce him.
I was just gonna say, what I'm gonna have you do is tell it, now make sure, because he has a soft voice, so make sure we're getting the sound
You
of
have to
that.
speak up.
Yeah.
I'll have to remember to push a little bit.
Okay. Well, no, that's okay. Because you won't be the only one. So we have to test early. I'm going to ask you to say your name and the year that you were born. Okay. And then I'll go into, I'll probably talk about the fact that, well, were you born in Palmyra? Have you lived here all your life? And then I'll ask you somewhere in the conversation your most significant memory of Cornwall Manor. You know, the purpose of this whole thing is to make sure that we're going to tell about Palmyra from the people that lived here.
How did
So-
Cornwall Manor get in?
Cornwall Manor doesn't have anything to do with
You
it.
mentioned Cornwall.
Oh, did I say
Yeah.
Cornwall Manor?
Manor?
I meant Palmyra. I
Uh,
could say that. I'm so used to saying
Yeah,
Cornwall Manor.
right.
2 years afterwards, I still say Cornwall Manor.
And I was
Yeah.
just gonna run home and get my book and read up on it.
Cornwall Manor is not Palmyra. Your most significant memory of Palmyra, and then I'll probably get into, well, what, you know, as you were growing up and raising your family, what were the activities in Palmyra that you were involved with? What were you were a homemaker, so you didn't go out in the workforce, but you did volunteering. What did you do? You know, where did you work in Palmyra? That kind of thing. Okay, were those the things you were thinking about in terms of preparing? Okay.
You said the women's club.
Right.
Is it women's?
Woman-
I never.
Women's, I think it is.
Woman's Club of Palmyra.
Okay.
I always get that wrong. in
I
the news,
know.
too, so-
It
And I
doesn't
think
sound
they
right.
changed it.
I'm probably wrong too, but it sounds good.
We'll just sort of slide through it quickly and then it won't matter. Right? Okay.
Club of Palmyra.
All right, so we're ready to start, Steve. Okay. I have with me today 2 guests from Palmyra, and I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves and tell us the year in which you were born to start off with.
All right, my name is Betty Rauch, and I was born June the 6th, 1925.
And my name is John Rauch, Betty's husband, of course. I was born in 1923 in Harrisburg, but we lived in Palmyra.
In Palmyra. So have you lived in Palmyra your whole life?
No, Uncle Sam interrupted me for a few years,
Okay.
and then Penn State, we went to Penn State.
We also lived in New Jersey for 3 years, but we've been here about 76 years.
It's a pretty long time to
Yeah.
live in one area, so
Right.
you know a lot about Palmyra.
We do.
You have a lot of good memories about Palmyra.
Many, yeah.
Well, tell us some of your memories about Palmyra. When you think of Palmyra as a town, what do you think of? What are your most fond memories?
Overall, the quality of life in this area is difficult to match. And we lived in New Jersey, we lived in a nice community, but outside that community, it was not the greatest place in the world, although we did like Frankfurt.
So the quality of life you feel is really good in Palmyra?
I felt there, yes.
And what do you think contributes to that? Or what has contributed in the 70-plus years you've lived here?
Well, that's difficult to answer in a way, but I think the mixture of ethnicity, Pennsylvania Dutch, Pennsylvania German, the Italian community up in Hershey, I think they all molded together to make for a very good background for raising a family and working in this area.
That's interesting. So you're almost saying that Palmyra is a melting pot.
Miniature, yeah.
A miniature melting pot. Okay, that's great. And you did raise a family.
We raised 2 sons, and they grew up in Palmyra, and both of them lived very close by, so we got to see them.
Oh, that's good. Now, you went through the Palmyra school system.
Yes.
Okay. And as did your sons.
Right.
Right?
Do you have any comments on that, on your school years?
Oh, lots of comments.
Well, I happen to know that you graduated in the class of 1942, at least you did. And that class has really been a very close-knit class, even
Yes.
today it is. Is that not right?
In the school, during, the teachers remarked many times that the esprit de corps of your class is unbelievable. And it carried through, even today. Many of us, not that many, but some of us get together on an annual basis and have a miniature reunion.
Right. And I think you incorporated, because of probably marriages, but you incorporated people from other classes too. Is that
Yes.
right? I know there are a lot of.
If, yes.
Okay, that's it. I know I have a picture of the class play from
Oh.
1942.
Yeah, I had that enlarged.
Oh, did you? Okay. Were you in, I think you were in that play, weren't you?
Yes.
Yes, yes. So things like that, I guess, bring people together as well.
In a sense, yes, but we were totally, as a group, we did few things as individuals and stayed away from there, and then we worked as a group.
Oh, so your social life was always sort of grouped as well?
Yeah.
Okay, great, great. Now, okay, so you graduated in 1942, and then you went to Penn State, you said, and the two of you were up at Penn State for a while.
Uncle Sam.
Oh, Uncle Sam was in the meantime,
In the
right?
interim.
In the interim, okay. And then, and I think you went to Lebanon Valley for a while,
Right.
didn't you?
Right.
Which was nice to have
Studied
that
music.
close. Studied music.
And the Women's Club of Palmyra, I remember Jenny Seltzer and Kitty Han both started the library on the East Main Street in the Carter Mansion.
Okay.
And they started, I don't remember the year, but, and we all volunteered.
And that,
Help.
the Kreider Mansion was later the Borough.
Yes.
That was like right on Cherry
Borough
Street,
Hall,
the
yeah.
Borough Hall later. And that's where so that was originally the Women's Club
Yeah,
building?
the library was in there.
Oh, the library was in
Yeah,
there?
they started the library.
Okay, all right. I think I remember that, yes, that's right. So you were active in the Women's Club for,
I was, a junior women's club and a senior. And they had over 100 members at one time, but that really dwindled.
unfortunately, some
Yes.
of the other people were telling us how the service clubs just, it's very difficult
Yes.
to get members
The
these days.
people are no
They're
longer
too busy.
club-minded.
But those clubs, whether it was the Women's Club or the Rotary or the Lions Club or the JC, you were active in the JCs, weren't you, through the years? That sort of contributed, the camaraderie in those clubs contributed to the quality of life in Palmyra, didn't it?
Absolutely.
Getting people together, but they were also giving at the same time. They were giving back to the community. Excellent, excellent. Now, you were employed in Palmyra.
Yes,
You
for
wanna
a
talk
short
about that?
period of time. I worked for Betty's father for about 7 years, and then I...
And what business, let's talk about what
Oh,
business.
that was Buick and Chevrolet, of course.
Gingrich, Buick, and Chevrolet,
Yeah.
right, okay.
And then I went with Kraft. They moved into Palmyra, and I got the office manager's job there. And that's when we were transferred to New Jersey. I worked in New Jersey a few months, getting me the boy out of the country.
Okay.
That was, they tried to get that going so that when I went over to New York office, I wasn't totally afraid of the community.
That's a big transition
That's a
from going from
terrible
Little
transition.
Palmyra in central
Right.
Pennsylvania
Yeah,
to
we
New York
enjoyed it,
City.
though.
Yeah.
But
Well, now, what did they make at the Kraft plant in Palmyra?
Locally, it's an interesting question. They pioneered the miniature marshmallow.
Oh, really?
And do I have time to
Yeah, tell us about
the
this.
background? There was a Greek boy by the name of Alex Dumas. And Alex used to watch his dad make marshmallow canned in the old-fashioned way, big knife and cut squares. And he kept thinking to himself, there has to be something better than this. And one day he squeezed a tube of toothpaste and saw there's a ribbon. He said, that's it. And he worked until he invented a piece of equipment that could shoot marshmallow out in a stream.
And they did that right here in Palmyra?
Palmyra pioneered the miniature marshmallow. Kraft had that for quite a few years before competition moved in.
Right, today when you go to the store, you see all different varieties, but that's
Right, and even they make the large now the same way.
the same way.
It's called extruding.
Okay, extruding the marshmallow. I always thought they made cheese in Palmyra. Did they make cheese?
No, that was after they reopened, 1964. They reopened, they closed in 62, 62, and reopened in 64. That's when we went into the cheese cutting operation.
Okay.
We didn't manufacture cheese, we cut it and shipped it out.
And put it in the plastic bags.
And have a lot of the big chains like Wise Markets, Giant,
Giant food stores.
just about everybody.
So this was a distribution, cut the cheese, put it in the plastic and send it out to the big stores.
To the customers. Yeah.
Right, that's neat. Well, now when did Kraft actually open it?
Oh, that's another long story.
Oh, all these.
Roman Hosiery owned that building first, and this was just prior to the war. And they had to give it up because silk was at a premium. The men in the service got parachutes and big nylon cord, and that's where the material went for.
And so they stopped making silk hosiery.
So they stopped making silk hosiery. Kraft bought the building in 1954, right? And then by 55 they were beginning to get this marshmallow thing going. And that's basically it. Then they closed it in 62 and reopened it in that 50. Somebody else in the higher up wanted a marshmallow operation in their district.
Aha, and so they closed. And did Kraft sell that building then to somebody else? Or do they
It
still
was
have
a
it?
long, long time. Hershey finally bought it,
Okay.
and they made their specialty products.
Their packaging of their
Packaging,
cans and
yeah.
things like that, okay. And, you know, when people think of going back to the 30s, 40s, 50s, and people talk about the industry in Palmyra, they always talk about shoe factories. And there were at least 4 that have come up. And I asked the question to one of the family members of one of the shoe factory owners, and he couldn't answer me, but we couldn't understand why so many shoe factories started in Palmyra. Do you have any idea? Do you remember? I mean, was there easy access to local materials or whatever?
Might have been.
But there, you know, people who worked in Palmyra, 9 chances out of 10 they worked in a shoe factory. Yeah. Rather than food. Now the other food place, of course, was ASK in Palmyra, so we're known for that as well.
Yeah.
That's great. You were talking about silk for the Army and so forth. I happen to know that you personally use some of those parachutes, and that you celebrate once a year by hanging your parachute out front, don't you? Tell us about that.
Keep it in a box. I don't. Well, it was March the 24th, 1945. It was the largest single day operation in the history of the war. And of course the Germans didn't like being pushed aside. They were pretty good shots, and we had to jump.
Were you a prisoner of war then for a while?
No, it wasn't. We were considered evadees. We evaded capture.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. Now, when you came back after the war, as many other classmates and people around your age, tell us a little bit about the American Legion. Were you active in that when you came back?
Not really. I was a charter member of the Veterans of Foreign
Oh,
Wars.
Veterans of Foreign Wars. That's a place in
But they never got off the ground as did the Legion. The Legion had their start in World War I.
Okay.
And they were well entrenched in the community by the time
That World War II came
came,
around.
yeah.
Well, what, do you know about when it was that they built the Quigley Baum unit that is today the borough? I guess part of me, I remember that in the early days, so it would have been in like the early 50s, is that?
It would have to be somewhere.
Well, the other thing about VFW, if we go to VFW, the other thing I know about the VFW is that the current VFW was your home,
Right.
that you grew up in.
Yeah.
Was, and how long did you live there? That's a pretty famous place on Main Street.
I probably only lived there maybe 5 years.
But the younger siblings
Young,
lived
yeah,
there
they
for a
were
while.
there quite a while.
Prior to the Gingrich family moving into that building, whose house was it originally?
Paul Zimmerman.
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 Right.
Oh, I heard that name. When people talk about old-time Palmyra, it's usually in the 20s, 30s, and 40s today because of the people that are around. But they can go down the main street and name the people whose houses that were there. Many of them were the shoe factory owners,
Yeah.
right, that
right.
lived right on Main Street.
Yeah.
Okay, we talked about grocery stores that Kraft sold to, the big ones. But in Palmyra, we had a lot of little grocery stores, right?
Yes, my God, mom and pop stores all over the town.
Right.
Hassford,
Okay.
Theo
Street.
Hansford,
Gruber and Fosnot.
On Railroad Street.
Yeah.
Walter Roy's father, forget his first name, but Mr. Roy had a little store. And his Mark
Mort. Grocery store.
Hastings,
Wasn't there a Shank?
right?
I remember a Shank.
And the fellow up the street, Mark
Coble.
Coble.
Yeah.
You could just keep going, you can find them everywhere. The West End had their group too.
Right, right. That's how people got their groceries. And they almost went on a daily basis, didn't they?
They had two, yes.
Yeah. Sometimes twice.
Oh, really? Okay, all right. And then there's a restaurant in town now called the Ice House, and I understand it was named that because the Iceman, and I'm not sure who that was, but the Iceman lived in that house, and he was
Mr. Rube Staff.
Mr. Rube Stauffer. And
Yeah.
now did he deliver ice to everybody's home, or did you have to go someplace to get the ice? This is why you had to go to the grocery store almost every day, because you didn't have the refrigerators and so forth.
Hershey had an ice supply, and then later on there was one out of Anvil.
Okay.
And I think Mr. Stauffer, we call him Rube. Rube, I think, employed every kid that went through town. We all carried ice.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Okay. So would you, of course, the telephones weren't in use as much then either. How did people order their ice? You just went down the street and,
Put a card on the window, 50 pounds, 10 pounds, or whatever.
oh, they put a card in the window like the
Yeah.
water kind of,
Yeah.
okay, and then you would deliver it. So you just drive down the street and the kids would get it out
Had a
of the
nice
truck.
picnic there.
Oh, that's neat.
We had a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's a neat story. Did I remember that you were involved when the swimming pool was put in Palmyra? I don't have any-
Not really, because that's when we moved to Jersey.
You were on the committee though for a
I was
while.
on the committee.
Treasurer, I guess, weren't you?
Treasurer for a while.
So who started that swimming pool? Was it a recreation association then?
Walt Gingrich was very active in that. And Walter
Right?
Wright, I think he was one of the instigators. They had good programs there. They worked hard. And then they got people to pledge, and that's how they got started.
To get the money
Yeah.
to do it? Oh, that's great. What other, we've brought up a couple different memories of things that were happening. What are other significant things would you like to share with us about Palmyra? You said it was the quality of life.
Quality of life.
And the availability of jobs, do you think that's a lot of?
There certainly was with
Hershey.
Hershey. That was before the Hershey Hospital and all these big employers.
That's right.
But, and then the trolley system Mr. Hershey put in, nickel, you could ride back and forth. Cheap transportation, people didn't have to, well, you didn't have the number of automobiles either.
Right, right.
Yeah, the trolley system was that was a nice idea. Anything else?
Do you have fond memories of Mr. Hershey? Did you ever see him in person?
Yes, we did. In 1936, the strike, famous strike of the Hershey between the CIO union and the milk suppliers, the foremen. And Palmyra Drum and Bugle Corps marched in the parade and walked past Mr. Hershey's home, that is referred to as the Hill.
Oh, up in the hill, okay.
Up the hill.
Which is now the trust or something like that, right?
Mr. Hershey was sitting there in a chair, waving to all of the people that were supporting him and nothing.
Oh, so the parade was to show support for Mr. Hershey.
Mr. Hershey, yeah.
Okay.
And Hershey chocolate.
Okay. Somebody just came into the headquarters the other day and asked if there was a picture of the Palmyra Drum and Bugle Corps. And I don't think we have one. Tell us a little bit about the Palmyra Drum and Bugle
Well,
Corps.
I had a picture of that somewhere. Yeah.
Now, this wasn't the Iroquois band,
No.
because I've seen
no,
It
pictures
was
of
in
that.
the drum
No,
corps.
that was Mr. Harvey Brandt had that. Now, this was the Drum and Bugle Corps, and Mr. Guy Seeger was pretty much the director and organizer. Boys and girls of the veterans of World War I, of course, at that time. And we in the competition, we had a pretty good outfit. And as a matter of fact, a fellow by the name of Green had the Hershey Drum Corps, he had the Palmyra Drum Corps, and he had the VFW Women's Corps.
Oh.
And they were state champs. And we beat them in competition.
Uh-oh.
And a little old Palmyra. So we had a lot of fun. We'd be traveling around quite a bit, competing and just marching.
This is the first time I heard about this, except the other day on Friday when someone came in and asked about that. So thank you for sharing that. Now, I've heard of the American Legion Band.
Yes.
You know, they used to play in Hershey Park, I remember.
Howard Phillips would sing,
Yeah.
Jane Savin,
Yes, yes. And Lee Moyer would play his trumpet.
right?
Yes, yes. So like I said, I've seen pictures of the Iroquois band, but I never heard of the Palmyra Drum and Bugle Corps until the other day. Oh, that's great. What other words or stories like that can you share with us? What other things were you involved with? You said you were active in JCs, right? Were you a charter member of that? What did the
Charter member.
JCs do in Palmyra?
Well, pretty much a lot of more like volunteer work, but the big project we took on help me out. Oh,
The JCs.
gee, yeah, well,
Halloween parade, I remember the JCs
Oh,
doing
yeah.
Halloween
that was
parade.
Yeah.
after my time.
Yeah.
But we went around door to door for this charitable institution, and collected a lot of money and pledges. I just can't remember the name of that.
Okay.
They don't call it that anymore, that's why.
Yeah. Oh, like the Red Feather Fund or something like that?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, like that was
That's
the
what it is.
forerunner of like the United Way today.
Right.
I remember the Red
That-
Feather
that
Fund,
was
okay,
it.
and then you give out those little red feathers?
Yes.
Oh, that JC's did that? Okay.
Couple of,
Okay.
several years, yeah.
Oh, that's interesting, I didn't realize that. Okay. Anything else you want to share with us?
Oh,
That's okay. We'll just take little snippets of these stories.
Okay.
Okay?
I just
All
want
right.
to say that we appreciate your time and effort in this 250th celebration, because I know you enjoyed it, but it's a lot of work, and
Well, there are a lot of volunteers that helped and
Right.
did a fantastic
That
job.
was a good idea, and it was, I know we appreciate it.
Good, good. Well, thank you very much. Okay, that's okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, we got some snippets there, didn't we? Some stories we haven't heard before.
Never